week number 2, getting ready for our fantasy blueprint for the week. But it sounds like my boy, as we've been talking offline a little bit, my boy's got something to get off his chest.
Okay, this might hurt somebody's feelings. It is absolutely asinine that Damar Hamlin did not win Comeback Player of the Year last year, and Joe Flacco, who was sitting on his couch, started playing quarterback and took the Browns to the playoffs, and he won Comeback Player of the Year. Now, you can't tell me a dude who was eating Pringles on his couch and got him to start throwing the football is more impressive than a guy who literally died on the field, was revived, and is now playing competitively for the Bills in this game on Thursday night. You can't tell me that it's not comeback player of the year. Now I am a bit salty because I had money on DeMar Hamlin doing comeback player of the year, so that's why I'm so salty. There's no way that is more impressive than Joe Flacco took the Browns to the playoffs. And if that is the case, that is embarrassing for the Browns that their franchise is in that much poverty that is more important than a person dying on the field. That's all I had to say.
I got no argument there at all. I'm kind of with you on that. I didn't have money on him, but I understand the frustration. All
Okay.
right, so we're into week 2, right? Gonna kind of take a look, kind of similar to what we did last week. Just kind of take a look at values, lineups, that kind of stuff. But before we do that, we're gonna kind of recap a little bit of week 1, our studs and duds. Gabe, I'm gonna let you start us off with your studs and duds
Yeah.
from last week.
Let me lead it off. I'm gonna start with the duds, and a couple people that we're gonna have to apologize about is it is 1,000% not the Javante Williams show in Denver. It's the absolute opposite. It's a sitcom. It is a one episode and done. Like he is not the guy.
I
Curtis
tried to
Samuel also. Go
I
ahead.
tried to I tried to tell you on the Williams stuff. I said you may regret those words, and what are we doing? Regretting those words.
That meme where I said it just hit me, and he like takes a minute and starts crying. That was me watching Jaleel McLaughlin take some of his carries. I was like, I have failed the community. So the next one, Curtis Samuel, kind of a risky play. I I didn't start him, but I did recommend he might be a good play. Dalton Kincaid is absolutely baffling. I still can't figure
Yes,
it out. I don't know what's wrong.
that's on me too because I built my entire lineup around Kincaid. So you're
Yeah,
welcome.
a
You're
lot of
very
us
welcome.
did, and so did I. And then tonight, this is Thursday. He's still two catches the first drive, and he's just like a ghost the rest of the game. Weird game though, if you watched it.
Yeah,
But and then a couple others just that ended up. Roma Doomsday for the Bears. Keenan Allen did play, which is kind of a prereq for what we
yeah,
said. If Allen plays, he's probably not going to get the targets. He did it.
yeah,
He also got hurt, so he's hurt this
yeah,
week. And then Tank Dell, well, he was on the no touchy list. Tank Dell was kind of that was more generally the spreadsheet. I didn't really
yeah,
like Tank Dell's, but I
yeah.
don't know if you
And
have one that you want to apologize for.
I owe everybody an apology on Christian Kirk. Holy crap! One catch, 30 yards.
Christian Kirk.
He had less
That
fantasy
one can
points than his salary. So good job
Christian
by
Kirk.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
had
it
he
happens, man.
dropped.
They're not all tens, man.
Yeah, that was one of the worst ones I put on paper last week. So Kincaid and Kirk, when you build around them, you're going to lose all your money. So uh,
Yeah, it's the
definitely a dud. Those are my two duds. I will say this though, on the $1 billion pick in DraftKings, I did do well because I did have Alec Pierce caught a 60-yard bomb on one of the best throws I've seen in the NFL
oh
ever,
yeah, that was crazy.
where he's
Yeah.
slipping and then just flicks his wrist and goes
Oh
60
yeah,
yards on the money for a
yeah.
touchdown. So I did have him, and then I also had Minnesota's running back Aaron Jones, and
Aaron Jones.
he had a touchdown, had about 18, 19 fantasy points. So on that lineup, I did really well. I won $10,
Yeah.
but on my other lineup, centered around Kincaid and Christian Kirk, absolute dud. So sorry for that
I
because
pretty much,
that was kind of
I pretty
my
much like
main
evened
talking
out.
points. That was like my main talking points for last
Give
week. I
yourself
like
some
Christian
credit
Kirk.
though. Give yourself some credit. You got Baker Mayfield. You nailed the Baker Mayfield.
I
Baker
did.
Mayfield absolutely went
Did.
crazy.
I did nail Baker Mayfield,
Pause.
and I think talking about Baker Mayfield
Pause.
kind of leads us. Yeah, pause. But I think I think leading talking about Baker Mayfield this week kind of leads us into values for week 2, right? We identified Baker. That was one of our positive studs from last week. Week 2, what are you seeing on the board?
Yeah, some of the other guys we pretty much nailed. You had Shaheed for the Saints, Dortch for the Cardinals. He didn't actually go off, but he led that team in targets, which is pretty crazy with the
Yeah,
stuff they have
3,000
there. And then Joe
salary. Yeah.
Mixon, yeah,
Hmm.
that was some of them. Starting off, like just looking at the values for this week, it's absolutely stacked in terms of values for quarterbacks. You had the
Yeah.
Jordan Love injury, and Russell Wilson's still not playing. So some of the guys I'm looking at right now, Justin Fields at 5,400. His rushing
Mm.
ability, I'm always going to take a quarterback cheap that can run the ball. Jay Daniels at 6,200 had a great game last week. He's still relatively affordable, and this one's going to get some odd looks, but if you're feeling dangerous,
You ever done anything dangerous? Oh, jeez. That is dangerous. I've done something like that too. I won't tell anybody. Listen, one time, never mind. That's too dangerous.
Malik Willis for the Packers is at 5,000. That's not the minimum. The minimum for a quarterback is 4, but his rushing ability, if he gets loose and scores a couple rushing touchdowns, he'll pay off. Now, the upside there is 1,000% on the rushing. I watched him play for the Titans. His throwing ability is not what can make him a good play. So if you're feeling dangerous and want to save that $400 from Justin Fields, you go Malik Willis.
No.
No.
Next pick.
Next. Go ahead.
What else
What
you
do
have
you
on
got for quarterbacks?
this maybe get me kicked off the pod here, but I actually have Daniel Jones
You sure about that? You sure about that?
as my dark horse for the week of value, and here's why. Washington Commanders, not Redskins, Commanders defense is like Swiss cheese. There's more holes in it than I've ever seen in my life. Baker Mayfield torched them. He lit them up. Daniel Jones
They
is not
did.
a good quarterback, but he's sitting there at 5,400 or 5,400. He's got
Yeah.
rushing ability. They've got some talent. He's a lower end quarterback, but he's still projected. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's projected like 18 points, 17, 18 points. I kind of like it. I mean, Daniel Jones, there's good and
He's gonna
bad.
separate you. Like
Yeah.
nobody has faith in Daniel Jones. He may be the only guy that starts him, and that could be the thing that wins you the millions. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I'm not putting a lot of faith in it, but I do think if you're trying to find value for a cheaper quarterback,
Yeah.
he may be the move this week just because Washington's defense is so bad. And
Mhm.
he does run it a little bit. Now we've seen him run for like 80 yards and get sniped at the 10 in years past, so hopefully he can actually make it in the end zone. But
Yeah.
I do like I feel like he could be a sneaky dark horse for value this week. So that was kind of one of
Yeah.
my biggest values. Um, Running back wise, what do you see value? Where do you see value at?
So, yeah, I see. Like, there's a couple injuries. Josh Jacobs
Yes.
is questionable. I think he will end up playing. But if
Hmm.
he doesn't end up playing, then his backup Emmanuel Wilson will be a good play.
Hmm.
Kenneth Walker did not practice Wednesday with an
Yeah, I
abdominal
saw
injury.
that.
Kind of, I think it's the same injury he had last year towards the end of the season. If he
Hmm.
doesn't play, then Charbonnet at 5,800 is going to be in every single one of my lineups.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey with his calf injury is questionable, but they did say he was very close to playing week 1, so I think he'll be back. So Jordan Mason's kind of off the table for me, but he was somebody I was looking at. Jerome
Is
Ford
he
at 5,900. Oh, go ahead.
is he jumping back to Mason? Is he still off the table? They're playing Minnesota. I feel like that game could get out of hand in a hurry. If it does
Yeah,
get out of the hand in a hurry, why run McCaffrey? You know what I mean? I still think there's some
yeah.
value in Mason. Maybe not as high as it was last
It's
week,
a
but there's
yeah.
still some value, maybe.
It's a dart throw. You're going for a garbage time touchdown. He's at
Yeah,
5,200. That's about 15 points. He's going to have to score a touchdown to meet that.
yeah, that's true.
And he'll have to get some catches, and I don't think he will if the game's out of hand. But he may
Yeah,
get a garbage time touchdown. But at 5,200, like like I was going to say, you could get Jerome Ford for the Browns against Jacksonville. He's going to get a lot of work with Deshaun's whole situation going on. But I don't
Yeah,
want to talk
holy
about
cow.
that. And then also the last one I have is J.K. Dobbins for the Chargers. He had a great game last week, and they're
Yeah.
playing Carolina. So
Do you worry
that's
about
a risky
his?
one for me, though. Yeah, that's risky for me because of
You
Gus
worry about the
Edwards.
carries? I think he only had 10 carries week one.
Yeah,
They were just
he broke a long
explosive.
touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
I
He's really cheap. He could be the guy that scores all the touchdowns for him. But Gus Edwards is
Yeah.
just a goal line back. I'm kind of staying away from Dobbins, but he is at a reasonable price against a bad team.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. My I didn't really circle in on a running back this week. I have two receivers though. One of them, Alan Lazard. He's sitting at
Oh, yeah,
3,300 and he had 9 targets
yeah.
last week. 9 targets, 2 touchdowns, 60 something yards. At 3,300, that's a safety net for Rodgers. I said safety net last week for Christian Kirk, so that may come back to bite me in the rear. But I like Lazard as a cheap pick that you can build around with a lot of upside.
It's it's kind of dependent on Mike Williams. Mike Williams didn't play last week.
Yeah, he got in a few
He
snaps.
might play this week. Yeah.
Yeah, he got a few
If he
snaps
doesn't
in
play
because
though,
I
I
had him.
definitely agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had Mike Williams on one of my like over under picks. I think it was like over 26 and a half yards. It's like, oh yeah, sign me up. No catches. So
Okay.
good times.
Yeah.
Lost that one. But I still like Lazard. I feel like him and Rodgers at least have, a connection from years past.
Oh yeah.
9 targets in week one. I mean, I 3,300. I really like that. My second one
Yeah.
is Malik Neighbors. I think they're going to try to feed him a little bit, force feed him. And Washington's defense got cooked by multiple
Yeah.
receivers last week, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I think they had 3 touchdowns combined. So I like Malik Neighbors. I think his price is at 5,900, but he's a receiver 1. So I feel like the value, the salary may be a little high, but there's still a lot of value with him being a receiver 1 against a
Yeah.
pretty poor defense. So that was kind of my 2 receivers. Did you have a tight end that you see value in this week?
Well, I got some receivers, buddy, and let me take
Oh,
it
you got
one step
receivers. I'm
further.
sorry. Yeah. What receivers do you got?
You were talking about Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson for the Giants. 12 targets last week for the Giants. 4,300. So
Wow.
if you were looking for somebody really cheap to stack with Daniel Jones, you get some serious value of 5,400 and 4,300. So if you're looking
That's
at
pretty
that,
good.
then yeah, it's pretty good. 12 targets? It's pretty
Like
good.
it.
Sounds pretty good. Like it.
Like it.
My other value plays, I'm sticking with Greg Dortch. He's at 4,600. He's
Yeah.
about 700 more than he was last week, but he's still affordable for that and a
Yeah.
good matchup. I like that.
Yeah.
And then also
This-
this one right here is gonna. Oh, well, go ahead.
I was gonna say his speed. I feel like it lends itself. If he could just break one tackle,
Yeah,
he can go a long way.
exactly.
So I do like that one for sure. Go ahead. Sorry. What was the next one?
So the next two are on the same team. Cooper Kupp, 7,600, and Demarcus Robinson at 4,000. Cooper
100%.
Kupp is still severely underpriced for
Yes.
his salary at 7,600. 21 targets last week.
Yeah.
There's receivers that won't get 21 targets in a season, and this dude got
I know.
21 in one game. And Puka's out. I mean, he might be 20 targets on average with that
100%.
offense because of how much they pass. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean,
Uh,
the year before Puka got there, I mean, he was almost the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he was a top 3 pick in fantasy.
I think he's a no-brainer that you can build around in your core 4 for the week. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah,
I like what
he's
you're-
just
I like what you're
barely
saying.
more expensive. Yeah, he's just barely more expensive than Marvin Harrison Jr., who had like 3 targets last week, which is just crazy. Like
That's insane.
Cooper Kupp is an insane value. Low floor. I mean, his floor is at least 15 points, and he's projected around somewhere around 21, 22, and his floor is at 15. I mean, he almost pays himself off immediately. Like he's just he's going to be in my lineups. And as far as tight ends, like I looked at the prices of the tight ends. There's not anybody that I'm worth paying $6,000 for. Like Travis Kelce, no. I'm looking at some of the really, really cheap minimum tight ends with Njoku being out. Jordan Akins is the only healthy tight end on the Browns roster right now. So I mean, he's going to get a good amount of looks. Colby Parkinson with the Rams,
Yeah,
He
that's
had
what
like
I
eight
have.
targets. Yeah, he had like 8 targets last week. And then Hayden
Yeah.
Hurst for the Chargers. Like he's a starting tight end there against a bad team in the Panthers. Like Hayden
Yeah.
Hurst is a pass catching tight end. I can see him doing good. So I'm going minimum salary on my tight end this week. I'm not paying up like I did for Kincaid. I did that last week. It bit me. I'm
Yeah.
trying something different this week.
Yep, I'm definitely changing strategy, reversing course on what I said last week about tight ends. I'm definitely going with a Colby Parkinson,
Go
sitting at
fucking.
3,100. So I think that's extreme value, especially with Puka going down. That's tight end one for
Yeah.
them. I could see him get in the end zone. I mean, he had 5 catches last week, so
Yeah.
I could definitely see him at 3,100 being great value. So as you're kind of thinking through this week, you've seen some values, identified some values, but now it's kind of time to talk about your kind of locks for the week. Is there a core four or a lineup lock that you have for week two?
Yeah, so my lineup locks for this week, my core four, I'm building around Cooper Cup, obviously. If you want to
Yeah.
put Demarcus Robinson in, you can. He's a little bit cheaper. He's going to get a good amount of points. But I'm going around Cooper Cup, and then I'm picking Jordan Akins as my tight end, but you can pick
Mm.
any of those really low budget tight ends. And then I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to play
Yeah.
since they won the first week and it's only week two. I kind of imagine they're going to be they're going to be sensitive to the fact they don't want to get hurt again. So I'm
Hmm.
going Zach Charbonnet, who's who I'm building around. And my last one, it's kind of risky if you're putting two of them together on the same team, but Kyron Williams with the
Mm.
Rams, I think he may have a good game. So I'm putting
Yeah.
those are my core four that I'm going to try to build my team around. I don't have a quarterback in there, which I try to typically build around the same quarterback. But since
Hmm.
there's so many good value quarterbacks with Daniels, Fields, Jones, I'm gonna kind of rotate around with quarterbacks, and I'm probably gonna keep those four the same in all my lineups.
Yeah, I like it. I'm kind of with you on quarterbacks. I think you can find some value out there for under 5,500 again this week, kind of like what we did with Baker Mayfield sitting at 55 last week.
Yeah,
So your core four was Cup, Kyron Williams. Who were the other two?
Akins, Jordan
Akins,
Akins
tight
for the
end.
Browns, tight end,
Okay,
and then Zach Charbonnet.
sweet. And Charbonnet's a lock for sure if Walker, who
Charbonnet,
hasn't,
yeah,
who hadn't practiced all week.
yeah,
So that definitely makes
yeah,
sense. My core four for the week, I've got Cooper Cup as well. I'm highlighting Lazard. I've already talked about him. I think his price is so cheap, but I think his floor is pretty low being with Aaron Rodgers. I guess
yeah,
Mike Williams, if he plays more than he did last week, obviously the target share could go down. But when you get 9 targets sitting at 3,300, I have a lot of belief in that and belief with his chemistry with Rodgers. So Cup, Lazard. I'm actually going uh, Jameer Gibbs for Detroit. Like what he did last week, and I think that he's
okay,
sitting at 6,600. High, a little high, but I just like his ability to catch the ball. So
yeah. It's always
I
big.
think that he's got a low floor too. So feel like he's a safe play for the week. And then my last one was actually going to be Brees Hall, sitting at 7,400.
Oh, all right.
I still think there's a lot of value for Brees Hall because he's catching, he's running, and
Mm-hmm.
last week I know last week was a weird week for them, but he did carry the ball quite a bit and got involved in the pass game. So I like him at 7,400. So I've got Brees Hall, Lazard, Cup, and Gibbs. That's my four core that I'm building around, and then
All
my
right.
my quarterback that I'm leaning on is Daniel Jones, but he's we'll rotate him some just in case he burns me.
I, I'm just a little bit scared of Brees Hall because I watch the Titans and I live in Nashville,
Yeah,
so big Titans guy. That D line for the Titans this year is going to be serious.
solid.
They had a great game against the Bears, man. That I don't even want to talk
Yeah,
about the fumble that the Titans did this weekend, but with Jeffrey
yeah,
Simmons and the rookie Devondre Sweat, the only thing that's really keeping me with you on Brees Hall is the fact that he gets a lot of catches and
yeah,
targets.
yeah. I think that's his saving face if something does go a wire because Rogers ain't afraid to hit a check down. So I think he's
Well,
still
he's
got
not
value at
afraid.
7,400. So um, and then kind of. Do you have you talked about your core four, but just in general, do you have an optimal lineup for week two?
So your optimal lineup for the three running backs is Jaden Daniels, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, Cooper Cup, Demarcus Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Colby Parkinson, Brees Hall, and the Packers defense. Your optimal lineup for the 4 wide receivers is Jaden Daniels, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, Debo Samuel, Colby Parkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Seahawks defense. And for your 2 tight end lineup, you kind of have a change at some of the positions. So at quarterback, you have Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Colby Parkinson, and Travis Kelce in the Seahawks defense. And I kind of like the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce stack if Travis Kelce can actually do something, even though he's kind of we'll talk about Travis Kelce later.
What is your starting lineup for week 2 in your daily fantasy?
Yes, sir. All right, my starting lineup, I got Justin Fields, Zach Charbonnet, Kyron Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. I think they're going to try and get him the ball this week against the Rams. I got faith that they'll get him the ball this week. Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, 5,900 against New England. I like that.
Very cheap.
Jordan Akins. It is cheap. Jordan Akins, and then Jerome Ford, 5,900. Titans defense against the Jets. I liked what they did last week against Caleb Williams and the Bears. I think Aaron Rodgers might give a couple away. We'll see if he does. They're pretty cheap defense at 2,700, so taking the Titans at home.
I like it. My lineup for the week is, again, I'm ashamed to say this, but Daniel Jones at quarterback. Running backs, I've got Breece Hall and Mason, but Mason is going to be he could come out of lineup depending on what Christian McCaffrey ends up doing. If he plays, I'll switch it, but if he doesn't play, I'll definitely keep him in because he's sitting at 5,200. So if CMC doesn't play, the value's off the charts for him, I feel like. Lazard as my wide receiver. Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Bounce back week after getting skunked in week 1, basically. Tight end, Colby Parkinson for the Rams at 3,100. I feel like that value's pretty awesome considering they just lost Puka. So Jahmyr Gibbs at my flex, and then I got the Chargers defense. So that's kind of my starting lineup for the week. But the ones that will come out potentially are going to be Mason and I don't know if I can stomach Daniel Jones, but we'll see.
No stack with Jones? No, I didn't hear Neighbors or Wandale Robinson. No stack?
I know. I'm going based off of our model, and our model kind of showed it leans so heavy on the Rams. I wanted to get Kupp in there, and I wanted to get Parkinson in there, and then I just feel I feel pretty strongly about Lazard, so I'm gonna keep him in there too. So no stack.
No stack.
No stack.
All right.
So looking at the games for this week, well, do we want to do games or no touchy?
Games. And I made fun of you for not having a stack. I don't have a stack either.
Yeah, I should have said something. I should have called you out. Making fun of me. You ain't got one either. You didn't want to take a risk on old Pickens?
Old Pickens? John Pickens? No chance.
I had
Roll Tide. Screw the Dogs.
Don't give a pass about number time. Blitz, Bama, blitz, baby. Blitz, Bama, blitz.
I had him in my year-long fantasy last year. Stop. So for this week, game-wise, week 2, is there any that you have circled or highlighted that you're interested in, or you feel like there's gonna be a lot of value in?
Yeah, the game I'm targeting primarily Los Angeles Rams, Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Let it fly, baby. Let it go.
A lot of points.
Yeah, and then the next one, Bengals and Chiefs. I feel like anytime they play each other, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes turn to like Dan Marino and Doug Flutie or whoever you think the best quarterback is. They just all of a sudden just turn into super studs, and the game's like 50-58 or something. So
you're not worried about Burrow picking up that water bottle?
All right, pick up the water bottle.
Have you not seen that video? Oh, dude.
No.
He can barely pick up a water bottle, and people are analyzing it like he can't bend his wrist. How is he going to throw it? It's so stupid, dude. It's like there's a camera on everybody now, so he can't barely pick up the water bottle. Everybody makes it a crazy deal, but I don't know how I feel about
it. Shannon Sharp.
What do you mean by that?
Pause. Oh, wow.
Wow. I
So
knew I
those are
had to get it
your,
in there. I was waiting. I was like, I gotta get it in there. There it
you
was.
made
You
it
said there's no
count.
camera on. There's a camera on everybody. I said, but there was no camera. Sorry, just audio only.
That podcast, the after or the nightcap with him and Ocho Cinco. Wow. Wow.
He said, please don't cancel me. He said, I'm just glad to hear it was Michelle, not Michael.
I'm gonna move on before we do get canceled.
It's too late, man. We did this too late tonight. Okay, move on.
uh, I'm with you on the games. I have. I don't know how we recover from that, but I have. I have. I have Arizona. Oh Lord, I can't even think of who they're playing because you got my brain messed up.
I'm just hoping that I'm just hoping one of my players doesn't catch a Shannon Sharp power bomb, so I can be out for 2 weeks.
Going back to games, the games that I like one. I like Bucks versus Lions. I think there's going to be a lot of points to be had there, right? We saw that Matthew Stafford absolutely lit up the Lions last week, and Baker Mayfield seems to be on a little heater, rolling a little bit. Receivers are playing great after week one, and I think the Lions will be able to pass on them as well. So I like that game. I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points that can occur from that game. The game I don't like that I'm staying as far away from as possible is 49ers versus Minnesota. That one to me feels like it could be Saints versus Panthers week one. I could see that one getting out of hand in a hurry because
Yeah.
I just don't know that I trust Sam Darnold. I know he had a
Dude, I
great
still
week
don't
one,
trust him.
but I just don't trust him right now. So
I don't
uh,
trust him.
I just feel like he practiced against that team all year last year. I feel like they're going to light him up. So I could see that one
Oh
getting out of
yeah,
hand.
yeah, that's
I'm going to
true.
stay
I
away
didn't think
from
about
that one
that.
for sure. I feel like it could get ugly. No touchy.
Yeah,
Pause.
no touchy for
But
sure. No touchy.
speaking of no touchies, transitioning here a little
No touching! No touching! No touching! No touching!
bit. Are there players that you're staying away from that you are not touching in week two?
Yeah, I'll let you hit on some of the Green Bay stuff, but I am gonna stay away still from Justin Jefferson. And
Yeah.
it was kind of looking a little shaky last week when he scored a touchdown in the first,
Yeah.
5 minutes of the
Yeah.
game. But shout out to my dad. He was roasting me, saying, "Oh, you had Justin Jefferson and Darnold in my lineup. I should have started him. You should not have started him. He ended up not doing as good as you thought. He only went with
Yeah.
15 points, and he was projected somewhere around like 25. So he still
Yep.
ended up busting. Yeah, he has a low floor, but no touchy. That's not what you're picking him for. You're picking him for 30 plus.
Right.
And then my second one is Travis Kelce. I'm I'm out. I'm out on Travis Kelce. Had
For
him
the
last
year?
year in the season long. I'm out. Like, I'm not. I can't justify picking him. He looks.
Dang.
All right, look, my wife's gonna kill me for this because she's a huge Swiftie, but he looks old. He looks fat, and he looks out of shape. It is. He wasn't even the highest scoring tight end on his team last
Yeah.
week. Noah Gray had more yards than he did. I don't think it's. I think he's on the back nine, and his brother just retired. I think he's just there as like a veteran to kind of. I'm out. I don't see the same production, and I don't think he really loves it as much as he did anymore. He's kind of accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, and at this point, he's just there to. He's just there to be a veteran.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense to me. Definitely does look a little bit out of shape for sure coming in. And that's not to say he can't get going in the second half, but in the first half, I'm
He's
kind of
gonna have
with
his
you.
days. That's kind of what I wrote down. Like he's gonna have his games where he may score like a touchdown or two touchdowns. But if you're trying to pick
Yeah.
somebody that's gonna have to score you 18 points every single week at his price, I mean, I'm not taking the chance. I'll be wrong 2 out of the 17 weeks or however many
Sure.
it is, and I'll be fine with that. Like
Yeah.
I don't trust him to do it every week.
Yep. No, I get that. I kind of will tag team this one here, Pauls. We'll tag team this one here. But we both Packers. I'm staying away from every Packers receiver available in daily fantasy this week because I want no part of them
100%.
with Malik
Yeah.
Willis. You've seen him in Tennessee. I want no part of any of that. I'm staying as far away as I possibly can from the Green Bay
They're just too
receivers this week.
expensive. They're all like 5,000 or more, and it's like
Yeah,
15 points. They have to score 15 or more, and that's just not
yeah, it's not
reasonable
gonna
this
happen.
week, I don't think.
No, not gonna happen. They
Yeah.
said Love is. I did see where LaFleur said Love might play, but even if Love plays, he's gonna be limited mobility, which is a huge part of his game, moving around in the pocket, throwing off kilter, off schedule throws. So
Yeah.
I'm staying completely away from Green Bay receivers. And then my second no touchy of the week, I kind of alluded to it earlier. I'm staying away from Sam Darnold. I think
Yeah.
people may grab him because he's still decent value out there, but he is.
Yeah.
I feel like this week is going to be an absolute bomb. He will be seeing ghosts. Mark my words by the end of this week.
Fred Warner and those guys, they know his tendencies, I'm sure. Fred Warner is a dog.
Dog.
And Nick Bosa's a dog, but Fred Warner is going to be looking in Sam Darnold's eyes every play, and he's going to know exactly where he's going, and he's going to be able to see straight to his soul, and it is not it's not going to be pretty for Darnold, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I would stay away from him, which kind of lends you to stay away from Jefferson as well as you've already talked
Jefferson.
about. So I'm kind of out on Minnesota this week. I just don't. I don't see it. I like I said, I could see that one getting out of hand in a hurry. So I'm not picking up Minnesota players for this week for sure.
Yeah.
And then as we're kind of looking ahead to week 2, is there anything else that you feel like maybe we haven't talked about, or anything else that you want to bring up as a talking point as we're trying to draft our lineups for Sunday? And again, this is drafting. Typically, what we're talking about is the afternoon slate, the 12 o'clock games, and the afternoon games, 3 o'clock games, 3:30 games.
Yeah. There's just going to kind of touch on value one more time.
Okay.
There's some good values that not good values. I'd say more of a matchup based on some of the higher salary price points. So you have Jonathan Taylor at like 7,700. It's a really high price, somewhere around 23-ish points. But I think he's playing Green Bay, and they have the 32nd ranked run defense after Saquon just torched them for 3 touchdowns. But the problem with that is that you run into the Anthony Richardson dynamic. Do they get to like the 3-yard line? Everybody's focused on Taylor, and then Richardson's vultures 3 touchdowns, and then Taylor doesn't pay out. So I'm kind of staying away from it, but it's very possible Jonathan Taylor scores 3 touchdowns and Richardson scores 0, or vice versa. And then going back to the quarterbacks, some of the higher priced quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson, like I just said, and then Justin Herbert, 5,800 against the Panthers. It's possible that he throws the touchdowns and they don't run him in. It's that, and then Matthew Stafford, 6,000 is not bad.
I like him against Arizona. Yeah.
They said if you're gonna stack Cup, I'll have a couple stacks with Stafford and Cup for sure.
Yeah, I think you got to. He's played so good in week 1, minus that 1 touchdown in the end zone or interception he threw in the end zone.
Yeah.
He played really good. I was very impressed by the Rams. I thought they looked good. I thought Stafford looked sharp. So actually, and watching the Bills torch Arizona offensively, I can
with
see
their
that.
receivers. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that becoming. That could be. There's a lot of value that could be had in that game as well. So I could definitely see that being a good stack for sure. And then just kind of as we wrap up again, last week we kind of broke even. Hopefully this week we're starting to master this. Hopefully starting to get a little bit better, starting to give some better picks, but there's always going to be duds every week. So just be prepared.
It's gonna be duds every week, man.
Understand that we're not perfect. There's going to be some bad ones, but there's going to be some good ones. Baker Mayfield was a great one last week.
Yeah, and I'll say this: if you want to criticize us for having bad picks, well, why aren't you a millionaire by now? You should have the picks then.
Amen.
There's going to be duds, bro. You gotta find the information you like, be confident with it, and you gotta die on your sword. You gotta go out on your sword, man. Whatever you would be confident. If you don't like somebody that we pick, don't put them in there, man. Go with what makes you confident. But if you like somebody we pick, put them in. I'm gonna die on the player that I can look at the end of the day and say, I like the matchup. Everything about it was good. Everything was great. Like Kincaid last week. I mean, all the lights were green. but for some reason he just put up a dud, and I'm not mad about it. I would die on that sword.
I'm mad.
I'm, I tell you what sword I ain't dying on, and that's Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that one could be the death of me, no doubt, brother. Again, it's a dark horse, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, you're going to be the contrarian play this week. You're going to be one of the few.
So let me ask you a question. Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold this week?
Daniel Jones. It's not even close. Daniel Jones. We gotta do. I hope Sam Darnold doesn't see this. He probably never will. But just like, I'm sorry, Sam Darnold. We're out. Daniel Jones.
I'm out week 2 for sure. But man, I'm excited.
It's almost
for you.
Halloween, so we're seeing ghosts already. It ain't even October yet, but we're still gonna be seeing ghosts.
Those neighborhoods are starting to throw up them trick or treat stuff in their front yard. He's already starting to sweat a little bit. But as we wrap tonight, hopefully everybody, like you said, find the players you like, dig in, crunch the numbers, see what you like, find who you want to die on, or what sword you want to die on. Cut that.
Yeah.
Find the sword you want to die on, and ride them. Pause.
Ride them. Pause.
But I'm looking forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this week. I do feel like there's some good opportunities out there, some great values in week 2. So we'll kind of see what happens. But good luck to you guys. Happy hunting. Hopefully you find the guys you need for this week 2 lineups. But we'll see y'all next week for week 3.
See you later.
We out.